Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Radio Toni Everyday Business. I'm your host, Toni Lontis, and I have another amazing guest to speak to today. But before I tell you about the gorgeous Steve, I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. So Steve Westwood is a successful copywriter and a coach, and he has been that for a number of years. And he has a book called Oh No, Not Another Goal-Setting Book, which I might add is a fantastic name for a book, Steve. I thought that we'd start by doing a reading of an excerpt of the book, and then we're going to talk about all the wonderful things that Steve does in his business. So here's the excerpt from the book. I can remember when I went to Las Vegas for the first time a couple of years ago, I had pre-booked myself to jump from the Stratosphere Hotel, some 252 meters. Oh my God. I had looked forward to it for months, and as the day grew closer, my mind was experiencing fear. I was so high up that I couldn't distinguish individual people. This was when fear really crept in. I distinctly remember saying in an unnervingly calm voice, "Oh, I don't think I can do this," and stepped back. Now here, I had two options: head back, go down the elevator to relative safety, or continue on my path and jump. That's when the guy who secured my harness to the rig said something that I take with me whenever I take on something that drives thoughts of, I can't do this. Just one step. Oh No, Not Another Goal-Setting Book came about as I was researching for delivering a workshop. I realized that there was so much information out there and not enough guidance to achieve your goals and dreams. This book gives you the tools and knowledge you need to set yourself up for success. Unlike many other goal-setting books, this one is all about you, your mindset, and the ways to change your thinking to make sure you succeed. Learn how to deal with your negative emotions, self-doubt, worry, fear, and break through the barriers that we have in place about ourselves when setting goals. Good evening, Steve. It's good morning for you. Welcome to the show. I'm so delighted to have you here. I know that it's quite early in the morning for you.
It really is.
How was that jump?
Oh, that jump was phenomenal. Honestly, it was one of the best experiences I ever had. I'm so happy that I went through with it. And he was right. It literally is just a step, like as if you're walking down the stairs. It's not like you've got to jump off the building. But it was a phenomenal experience. I'd recommend it to anyone.
I have actually been skydiving twice. So when I read that paragraph, I'm like, oh my God, I know how Steve felt in that moment, because that you're in the plane, you go up, and that moment just before you're about to free fall is the most terrifying moment of your life. And then bang, you're free falling, and it's amazing. And you get to the bottom, and it's like it just is exuberant, is the way that I would describe it. It's just like, oh my God, can I do that again? Yet I know that when I get to the top again, it's going to be like, what am I doing? What the hell am I doing?
Exactly. No, that is it. You just hit the nail on the head. It's the fear. The fear comes from the unknown. It's what we place on ourselves because we don't know what it's going to be like. Even the second time round, It's still there because we don't know what it's going to be like. And
the second time.
Yeah. So I've done skydives before, but none of it. When I've done the skydives, I've also been attached to somebody who knows what they're doing. So
exactly.
But yeah, whereas this was just me. And when the guy just grabbed me, he goes, look, and he was like, look me in the eyes. So I made eye contact. And he goes, it's not a leap of faith. It's just one step. Like walking down the stairs, just take that one step. And I literally walked to the edge, didn't look down, and just took that step. And it was great. There is a video of me, and you can hear me.
I was just going to say, have you got a video?
Yeah. I'll send you the video. It's taken from the ground,
That's
so you just need
awesome.
this little speck.
The tiny speck. When you're saying about just stepping and just take that one step, my stomach is actually feeling that feeling. You know, that dropping feeling? It's like quite incredible that the brain can associate it with that, isn't it?
The way the mind works is just extraordinary. It really is. Yeah.
That
But
fear that we have in our brain is our protective mechanism. The problem is that sometimes that protection is just a thought. And that's what fear is, isn't it, Steve? It's just a thought.
exactly. So the way that I think of fear is, it's something that we evolved into many, many thousands of years ago in order to keep us alive. We now no longer need it. So it's not things to keep us alive that we fear, it's things that take us away from our comfort. And you're right, it is just a thought, because our emotions are evoked by our thoughts. And once you understand that it is actually a thought that's making you feel a certain way, you can do so much more than just give into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was reading through your bio and I'm like, I'm so excited to talk about this stuff. And I want to get on to all the other wonderful things that you do. But that concept of fear, because I think that outside of skydiving and doing a few risky things, business for me has been scary and fearful. And I've had to do lots of work around being scared of showing up and trying to do something outside of what I normally do. Steve, I wanted to talk to you about your coaching, and are they some of the concepts that flow through your coaching, helping people in business around their fears?
That is it, exactly. So obviously we've had a strange 18 months, we'll put it that way. And a lot of people have been experiencing fear and starting their own business through that fear. And then because there's a lot of help, quote unquote, online about how to start a business, it's confused a lot of people. So they don't want to take that next step. They're not ready to push. And as you read out in that excerpt, the thing that motivated my book was I actually delivered a workshop on goal setting. And I'll be honest, my initial thought was, well, everybody knows how to set goals. Surely, it's natural. Well, yes, it is natural to me, but that doesn't mean it's natural to everybody for a start. So that was, making assumptions on my part. And then when I was delivering the workshop, I realized quite quickly that people don't know how to set goals because they don't know what it is that they want, and they don't know what it is that they want because they're experiencing fear, self, and all of the restrictions that we place on ourselves. And so as part of coaching for business, you have to delve into that, and you have to be able to have a trusting relationship with I have to have a trusting relationship with the person that I'm coaching, because they have to be able to be in a safe space in order to think about the way that they are thinking and think about the way that they are limiting themselves because of these thoughts.
Yes. And it is about limiting yourself, because if we look at humans as capable of anything, really, if we put our minds to it, those thoughts are the things that stop us from reaching the goals or the things that we want, aren't they?
Exactly. And if you look at all of the great people, the fantastic people, the confident people, the people who are famous, they're only famous because they've learned how to deal with that fear and actually take those steps to achieving their goals. And just because you're not in that space yet doesn't mean that you're not capable of achieving the greatness that you want to achieve in life. You've just got to learn how to deal with those emotions.
And it's not different for anyone, is it? If you're a human being, then you're going to have limiting thoughts, fears, self-doubt all the time. It's very normal to feel that way. But when they stop you from living life with purpose and passion, that's when you need to do something about it, isn't it? Is that why people come to you, Steve?
A lot of people are coming to me because they are seeking something new. And because they're seeking something new, they don't know. There's a misunderstanding with how to go about it. So they seek me out to help them, guide them through that misunderstanding. That's how I would word it. But you're right. There are people who feel trapped in their own lives, and they're feeling trapped in their own lives because fear is stopping them from taking any steps towards achieving goals. There are people out there who are afraid to dream for that very same reason. The fear has crippled their ability to dream. And I don't know about you, but I find that quite sad.
Oh, definitely. I'm a massive dreamer. I have a huge imagination, and I wouldn't know what life would be like without that ability to dream. But I've had a conversation with my husband and said, what do you dream about? What do you want in life? And he's like, I don't dream. There's nothing I want. I have it all. And I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you've encountered people like that as well, Steve?
I do. So without knocking anybody, there are certain types of people out there who want to dream. They want to be able to think of a better future for themselves. And then they talk a good talk, but then they don't actually take action. And that's what goal setting is. Goal setting isn't just talking about it, it's taking action. And it's that inaction that is making them believe that, just like your husband, for example, where he's got everything he needs and everything he ever wants. It's that inaction that
what if changes. Yes. Yeah, I agree, Steve. Love him to bits. Love you, honey. Steve, I'm wondering, like, in the UK, you guys have had a torrid time with the whole COVID scenario. It's wreaked havoc across the world. I'm wondering, has COVID and being locked down caused people to start thinking about their life? And has that made them start to seek out experienced coaches like yourself to help them try and navigate their way through what they may or may want in life and business?
Okay, so if we look at from a statistical point of view, first of all, I can't remember the exact numbers, but whenever there is a global issue, be it a pandemic, be it an economic crisis, there is a certain level of fear. People are afraid that they are not going to be able to continue living the life the way that they do. They're afraid that they're going to lose their jobs, lose their houses, lose their, their basic survival needs are not going to be met. So what this does is it kind of jumpstarts the entrepreneurship and business owner economy.
Conversation.
And what I have seen a lot of in my spaces is that people are looking for coaches. People are looking to turn to more experienced people to help guide them through it. And it just makes sense that you would look for somebody who has got the experience, who can provide you the results to help guide you through it, because there's two ways to learn. You can either learn through making mistakes, which is costly, as in it takes time to develop, or you can learn through somebody else's experience. So I am seeing a massive, massive shift, especially online, of not only people offering courses in coaching, a lot of the times combined as well. It's not like one or the other anymore. It's both.
It's together.
But then I'm also seeing a huge, huge increase in the number of people who are trying to access those services. And it's all started.
I've always had coaches. So I am a huge fan of what you do. I think that you are in this life to live your best life and I know that other people have insight and awareness into a whole range of things that I may or may not be aware of, or I may be aware of and I just can't figure out a way around it. So I know the value of coaches and coaching in my own life and in my business. So both spectrums. The other thing I wanted to add too is when you embark on a business journey or entrepreneurship journey, there's the component about the person that you have to become to be successful in that business, or you can't start a business and be the same person and be successful. You have to grow. Part of being in business causes you to grow. There's so many things in a business sense that you need to take on that are either cause you angst, fear, sometimes anger, all sorts of things. And you want to know how to deal with that. Like if you've never had to deal with a cranky customer before because you've never been in that situation, then a coach is the best one to help you work out how to do that. If you're absolutely petrified of, say, doing live interviews or talking to people that you don't know, a coach is the best one to help you, Steve, aren't you? Like that must be the cornerstone of what you do, is some of those basic business fears that a lot of us have.
It is. It's so my background is in marketing. It's actually in copywriting, like you said. So it's the marketing and advertising, writing words for businesses. I actually refer to myself now as a professional business writer because there's a lot of confusion over what copywriting actually is. And you're right. I actually have coaches myself, and I have a leadership coach to help me become more assertive and to help me become more understand myself better. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Gallup's, what is it called? The Strengths Finder.
Oh, I have, I think. Tell me more.
Okay, so the Gallup Strengths Finder is something that I've recently done, and it gives you your 34. Strength. Yeah, basically. Yeah, and I didn't realize what all of my strengths were, and I'm only focusing on the top 5. So my first 2 are known as an achiever. So that's somebody who likes to achieve things. It's somebody who likes to help other people achieve things. And then the second one is a maximizer. So that is basically somebody who will take something and make it big. Like I won't. The fourth one is futuristic. So that's the dreamer in me looking to the future, finding comfort in the future and finding comfort in setting myself goals. And I am always in my own head thinking of daydreaming about the future, daydreaming about what I'm going to do. And then my 5th strength is positivity. So that's where I have a positive influence on other people. And what I find quite interesting about my personality type, 4 different categories with this one. You've got influencing, speak up, how you make other people feel heard. Then you've got relationship building. So that's obviously when you're making some strong connections with people. And then you've got strategic thinking. So that's obviously how you absorb and analyze information that informs better decisions. I'm even across the board for my top 5. I have all 4 of those.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, which apparently is more rare than I thought because, and what else makes it more rare is the fact that I predict that only 1 in 33 million people have the exact same attributes inside of each of those categories.
Wow, cool. So you're actually a very good coach because of that balance, correct?
It's true that that's basically what it tells me. It also explains quite a lot about the way I work because I don't just people obviously work in different ways. Now, depending on which area of my business we're focusing on, I will work differently, but ultimately I will basically information gather first, then I will for lack of a better term, draft it up. Then I will
Yeah.
look back at the draft. Then I will compare the drafts to some other things that are out there, and then I'll complete the draft, and then that's the final version I send off. That's the basics of it, and I do that with coaching and with copywriting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just found it absolutely fascinating that I now understand why I do things the way I do and why I get energized the way that I get energized.
I was going to say, Steve, part of that whole journey is about self-awareness and understanding not just your strengths, but also your weaknesses. Because what that means in business is that eventually you'll be able to outsource those weaknesses or things that you don't like doing, and you can focus on doing the things that you are good at, because that's why you're brought into the world. You're brought into the world to share those strengths with the rest of the world. That's why you're here, essentially. And those strengths can be in all manner of things, like anything, really. Steve, you started out as a copywriter, and you are known as a business copywriter. I'm just curious, what are the differences between copywriting in terms of everyday copywriting and business copywriting? Is it because with business copywriting, you have to be able to articulate short, sharp conveyance of a product or a service? Is that my correct understanding?
I want to say yes and no. Basically, whether it's business to customer, business to community, or business to business, it's copywriting is essentially the same thing. Not, everybody doesn't have that type of time where they want to have to consume a lot of information before they even understand what you do. Not everybody has the time to try and figure out what it is that you do. You need to express it directly, whether that be on your website, whether it be in brochures. But the reason why I focus more in the B2B space is because I personally find it more interesting. In the B2C space, you end up writing a lot of product descriptions, and they tend to be, like fashion items or accessories or holidays. I've done it. I kind of enjoyed it, but it's not where I want to be. And that's the only reason why I do business to business. But ultimately, it's the same thing. Even business to business, I'm not selling my clients' products or services to a business. I'm actually selling it to an individual, a person within that business. And that's where a lot of people go wrong with their copywriting. They tend to focus more on either we, because we're so professional, or they focus on selling to a business and not an individual. So to help people get a better understanding into marketing and to help people get a better understanding into copywriting, I actually have started a YouTube channel. And in that YouTube channel, I know I wasn't going to, but then I was like, it would help though. Like more people could learn from it.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, it is. Like
Once you get over
Well, I've got
there's a lot to learn.
It is a lot to learn. I've got 3 videos out so far. The first video, there's no editing done whatsoever. It's just me talking and talking and talking. My second video, there is editing, but my head's jumping around from this, where I'm reading my notes to this and this and this and this and this, where I'm trying to chop it, so it's quite choppy. My third one, I've actually been practicing reading my notes, looking at the camera and then smiling and then talking. Then finish talking and then look down. Well
done. This is a special passion of mine, because when I started in my business, and the first part of my business, I just used to stream audio live. So online radio was where I started. So there was no need for video. And that's I spent the first 6 months being physically sick before I got behind the microphone, but I kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it until I didn't feel so bad anymore. And I did that for 12 months. And then I started to venture into video land, and I went through the whole I feel sick. I don't want to do this again. And then I'm like, oh, just get over yourself. And now I can do it relatively easy without too many nerves. But every now and then when I've got some interviews coming up that the person is quite famous or has a big following, I still get nervous. But that's about that mindset. That's about going, no, you're okay. You're meant to show up as your imperfect, authentic self. Just do what you do. And so, Steve, you've got it covered, mate. It's all going to be good.
No, it is. And to be fair, I have to like take my hat off to you and give you a round of applause, because doing live is completely different to what I'm doing. Anything could happen live. Anything could
And it
happen in my
does.
edited videos. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, and I can understand why you'd be nervous streaming live.
Yeah, it is a bit nerve-wracking. Like, guests not showing up, power going out, technical issues, Zoom dropping out, microphone switching off. Like, I think I've had just about anything from thunderstorms to floods to like all manner of things happening while I've been live streaming. And it used to just make me absolutely petrified, sick, worrying about what was going to happen. But again, you just keep doing it. Just go deep breaths. It's okay. Nobody's perfect. Keep going. That sort of thing.
Exactly.
And you sort of start to, and it's allowed me to enjoy conversations like I'm having with you. Like I can jump on and go, oh my God, I'm talking to Steve. I'm so happy. And this is pre-recorded, obviously, because I'm to fit in and have you here on the show. But that's the beauty of it. Like, had I stopped when I felt fearful, then I would never have got to experience the joy of being able to talk to so many people across the planet. And I obviously enjoy doing that. And I love talking about what people do, because no one can replicate Steve. And there'll be someone listening who goes, oh my God, I need to work with Steve. I need to talk to Steve. I need Steve to get to write my copywriting. I need Steve to coach me. Like, that's my purpose. My purpose is connect all the people that Steve needs to work with to Steve. Simple. But it took me 50 odd years to work that out, just between you and me.
Oh, no, thank you for sharing that. No, I get exactly what you mean though. Like, had you stopped, it's just like had I decided not to jump off the stratosphere building, I'd always be wondering, oh, what if that experience could have been good? And then I'd have to deal with that side of things. I'd rather deal with the positive. I'd rather be elated and laughing.
Much better for you.
I can kind of see where you're coming from with it's taking you some time to decide on what it is that you want to do, because you have to try it first and you have to see it through properly first. You can't just try it for one day and then be like, not for me.
And it's like an evolution. Like all I did was write a book, and I'm going to get back to your book in a minute. All I did was write a book. I had no plan for where that was going, but obviously the universe had a very clear plan for me, and it had to drag me kicking and screaming all along the way. And the year that I wrote the book was the year that I was going to say yes to things that I was terrified of. Again, had I not decided to do that, I wouldn't be doing this, and I wouldn't have that joy of passion and purpose in my life. So it's just, and again, if I hadn't had people supporting me and saying, no, you can do this. No, you can do this. Yes, it's going to be okay. Yes, it's going to be scary. Yes, you're going to feel sick. Like, I wouldn't have done it, So that's where coaches come in. So I very much understand why you do what you do. Steve, about the book, tell me about writing the book. I know it started with a workshop, but tell me about writing the book, because writing a book is also a scary thing, isn't it?
It is. It's just definitely a different style of writing to what I'm used to. So what I did was I spent months where every day I was dictating to Google Docs. And it was just throwing some ideas out there. Not only that, though, I was also consuming a lot of information because I wanted to make sure that you had everything you needed within this one book. Just to, actually take that first step. Because once you take that first step, the second one follows easier and it snowballs.
And the third one.
So I was listening to a lot of podcasts. I wasn't just listening to business podcasts. I was listening to life coaching podcasts. I was listening to psychology podcasts. I was doing psychological research. I was actually looking at academic papers and drawing conclusions from those, all to put into this. And then I was like, okay, well, it's about understanding. To me, I love psychology. Psychology is one of those topics where I can
me
talk
too.
About it, and there's always something new to learn.
It's great.
Yeah. And
never ending source of learning. It is, isn't it?
It really is. But also, whilst writing it, I was learning a lot about myself. Because I was looking at how I set goals. And there's two tasks in there. And one of the tasks is the one that I naturally do. It's the one that I've always done. And basically, I'll give it away. I'll tell you now. What I do when I'm setting goals is I think of the far future. I think of my 10-year vision. And then from that, I sit as if I'm on a talk show talking about how I achieved it. And I work backwards from there. So my 10-year vision is that I'm living in a big house with a floor piano and a pool. Let's say that's my 10-year vision.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
But then I'm sitting on this talk show in my head, explaining how I got there, what steps I took, but I do it in reverse. And what I find is actually I've got all of the answers. There's not really a lot that I need to research. I may need to research like some of the minute details, but ultimately I've got my path laid out in front of me. Then what I do, because I've written it down, is I take those steps. I start off with that first step. Once that first step's done, I then move on. And that's how I've always done goal setting. It's why I have my Master of Research in Social Sciences. It's why I've got my teaching. I'm actually a qualified teacher.
Oh, yay!
Yeah. So I
so teacher, copywriter, coach, author. What a great progression.
Well, to be fair, so I've been a copywriter now for longer than I want to say, but for a decade. It took me, just like what you were saying, it took me 7 years of copywriting on the side to realize it's actually where I want to be.
Yes.
So while I'm copywriting, I'm using that as a way to get myself through university. So I got my bachelor's, I got my master's, I then went on and did the PGCE, which is the teacher qualification. I then started teaching. I'm still copywriting on the side, and I'm getting burnt out. I'm getting tired, and I'm like, oh, I've got something missing here. Like, it's just not connecting. And I was talking to my partner one night about it, and I was like, I need to leave. I just can't teach anymore. Like, it's not for me. I just knew that. So I was talking to my partner about it, and he goes, well, what is it you want to do? And I was like, well, I don't know. And then I was talking about the fact that, I'd always done copywriting alongside everything that I've done. And he was like, well, do you not think that maybe the copywriting is where you want to be? And I was like,
I know. Sometimes we're so slow, aren't we?
And I was just like, it clicked, and I was just like, do you know what? I never even thought of it, because it's always just been this happy side gig that I've been doing where I get to meet new people and I get to write, two of my favorite things to do in the world. I now do it full time, and I couldn't be happier.
Absolutely. See, that's the thing about external thoughts on, like, if your partner hadn't said to you, what about the copywriting? it may never have occurred to you. And I mean, look at you now. You've got a whole business built around copywriting and coaching, and I'm sure there's going to be more books. There's going to be more books, Steve?
There are going to be more books. So I've actually got planned an entire series, and it's not just based on goal setting. There's going to be some based around marketing, some based around copywriting, some are based around my experience in working internationally with different businesses.
Yes.
Because I don't market myself.
We can do that now.
Yeah, exactly.
We can work with. I'm in Australia. Steve's in the UK. I just got a call recently to someone in the US. Like there's actually nothing stopping us now with the technology that we have. You can work from your home office and create an international business and enjoy life.
Exactly. And that's the other thing, is you don't even need to work from a home office, depending on your business, of course. I don't. I can work from anywhere I go. I just take my small laptop with me as opposed to my big laptop.
Yes. And off you go. Yeah.
And off I go. How great is that? Unfortunately, like we've already discussed twice now, over the last 18 months, that's not been able to happen. But
I know. COVID, the great leveler of 2020, 2021, 2020, and on into the future, I fear.
Oh, I hope not. No, but
me too.
I think what it has done is it's given people a lot to think about, and it's given people that time to decide what's important to them. Because I am seeing a lot more people who are becoming more family oriented. I'm seeing people who are no longer living to work; they work to live.
Yeah,
which has always been my mantra. I've never lived to work. I've worked to live. And
absolutely.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that I feel life's too short in that respect.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Steve, we're down to the last few minutes of the interview, and I want people to know how they can find you, where they can find you, and also the book. Now, remember, people, I will have these links underneath the description of this interview when it goes out. But Steve, tell us, how can people find you?
Okay, so the first place you can find me is my website, which is spwcopywriting.com. The next place you can find me is either on LinkedIn or Instagram, SPW Copywriting, or you can find me on YouTube. Again, either Steve Westwood or SPW Copywriting, you will find me. I think I've got a pink background on that one. So
fantastic. And Steve, you don't mind people directly connecting with you and asking questions about what you do, whether they've got a coaching question or a copywriting question. Either is fine for you. Yeah,
either is fine for me. Get in touch. You can contact me at stephen@spwcopywriting.com. Yeah, and if you're in the UK, you can ring me. My number is available online. You'll find it.
Yes. Fantastic. Now, Steve, just before we finish and round off this interview, your copywriting, your favorite part of copywriting is actually the business-to-business copywriting. So for businesses wanting to write about their services or product, yeah?
Yeah, so it's offering the products or services to other businesses. That's the business-to-business space. And you're right, it is my favorite kind, and that's because it can get quite meaty. It can get very, very, I don't want to use the word juicy because that kind of implies it's gossipy, but it's not. It is juicy, like to me anyway. But what I like about it is that I'm on a personal mission as far as the term professional goes, because I can see that there is a change in culture around the word professional. And it no longer means jargon. It no longer means buzzwords. It's all to do with being people-centered and speaking to people through written word as if they're humans. And it's fantastic to see.
Yeah, Yeah. I remember reading recently a document that was talking about copywriting and making sure you incorporate have SEO consideration around your copywriting. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that just sounds too complicated to me. But I'm sure you understand what that means.
Yeah, so it's search engine optimization. It's basically where you get the
Yeah.
keywords that people would usually use to search for you, and you
And
sprinkle it
embed
throughout
them.
your
Yeah.
you sprinkle it throughout your web copy. So anything on your website, do
Yes.
that. There's other things as well that you have to do to
Mm-hmm.
be SEO optimized, but um, yeah, ultimately that's
Is
the
that
biggest one.
challenging? Is
Um,
that challenging, Steve? Can it be difficult to incorporate those keywords in the script?
Well, yeah, what you have to do is you have to incorporate it naturally so it flows,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's not like it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you had what people were calling keyword stuffing, which is where any of the key
Yeah.
terms that people were searching for, they would just throw them into the
I
website.
mean,
And yeah,
gotcha.
any old how, it didn't really matter. I've known it where people have put it onto their website and then changed the color to the same as the background. So the keywords themselves are hidden. That's known as keyword stuffing. And I don't say Google
Oh,
will penalize you for
wow.
it. Yeah, it's bad
Wow.
though. Keyword stuffing is
Yeah, yeah.
bad. Google doesn't penalize you for it, but you don't get the rewards that you would normally
Doesn't
get if you
like
did
you
it
for it.
correctly.
Yeah.
What you do get rewarded for is if your content is aimed at people, so people can read it and
Yes.
understand it and interact with it. The one thing I do always say is remember that your website is a part of your communication. It's how you communicate to the world in
Oh,
written form.
yes.
So you've got many different types of the communication. There's obviously the face-to-face, then you've got
Yes.
email, and you've got social media, your website, and it helps to build that credibility as well if you can be seen online. Because the first thing people are going to do is they're going to Google who you are.
Google you. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So it helps if you've got things coming up that show who you are.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
but then if those things come up and help persuade people to buy from you, then isn't that better?
Yes,
And that's basically
absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
Steve, it has been an absolute delight talking to you today. So please make sure you connect with Steve Westwood from SPW Copywriting. Steve, thank you so much for being on Radio Toni Everyday Business today. I look forward to chatting to you again. And that, my friends, is your lot for this week.
Recording stopped.
Okay. Yay!
Relax.
Steve, that was fantastic. Yay! We got
Thank
lots
you.
of really good content in there. And it usually takes me about a month before I get to audit it, put the intro, outro, fix it up and get it out. So just be patient with me. But that was fantastic. I'm really curious about the business to business copywriting. I'm just thinking about my stuff and thinking maybe I should try and get some of that done. But anyway, it's thinking about redoing my websites in 2022. So we'll be talking before then anyway. But yeah.
Yeah. No, that sounds good. I have just remembered, I think the links have changed from what I sent you.
Yes. Oh, okay, cool.
So I'll just quickly send you my... If I send you my link tree, all the links that I spoke about are on there anyway.
Yes, that's perfect. That's perfect because I'll make sure that goes into the
yeah,
and it'll be recorded
yeah,
on here as well.
I think part of what I was going to touch on, but didn't because the conversation didn't go that way, was it helps to use an expert. Like I'm not an expert at everything. So as you pointed out, focus on your strengths.
It does help.
And get somebody in.
It does help to have an expert.
Yeah. And then get somebody in to cover those weaknesses so it becomes more well-rounded. That's
Yeah.
how I work.
Yeah.
It's how I've always worked because I'd
Yeah.
rather focus on developing my strengths and go from good to
Yeah.
great than focus on my
Yeah.
weaknesses and go from bad to okay. Um,
The other the other thing I was going to mention, and I had a note of it, and then I've completely forgotten about it. I meant to circle back and go, so tell me, Steve, about the process of copywriting for, say, a website. What's the process you go through? But we can always do another interview.
yeah, we'll do another interview. I like this. This is quite a
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
way to be interviewed. There's no pressure. It's just a chat. It is just a chat.
I know. That's what I mean. I like doing things this way. The pre-record is kind of just a bit more relaxed than the live stuff, because the live stuff I'm like, okay, I've got the lighting, I've got the sound, even though I've got a technician managing stuff in the background, I've still got to keep this, look at that, make sure that's there. Got my, it's just a bit more stressful. Whereas this, I can go, la-di-da-di-da. Steve, tell me about la-da-da. So
Yeah,
it's
no,
good. It's
I
good.
get what you mean. It is easier when you can relax a little bit more, and it is easier to talk to. I mean, I suppose
Yeah.
you've done some interviews where it feels like you're trying to draw blood from a stone.
Oh God, yes. Oh God, yes. And that's why I always have talking notes and questions. Because most interviews I can get people talking and chatting and sharing, and it's good. But some interviews are really tough, and I'm really thankful that I always prep with notes and questions, because they're really hard. And then they'll answer them with not a lot of filling, and you'll go, okay, so does this mean you've got to fluff around, which just, it makes it hard work, and you get to the end of the interview and you're just like, oh. So this was just easy. Like this time
You breathe
flew
a sigh
by.
of relief and it's over. Oh no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have so I have actually watched an interview, not one of yours, this was with somebody else.
Yeah.
And they're trying to do something very similar to what you're doing, but their
Yeah.
opening questions are, who are you, where were you born, and where did you grow up?
Ah,
And
okay.
I'm like, I don't know whether that's relevant, but you could tell that the person who was being interviewed wasn't expecting to be asked those questions, and it threw off
Yeah.
the whole interview.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I have to agree, Steve. Like people have varying levels of nervousness around interviews, particularly if they're live streaming. And I think that it helps settle the situation if they have some idea of what they're going to be asked. And then I always put a proviso on the bottom that says, I like to keep the conversation organic, because I think that makes for better viewing. So we might go to different places and talk about different things, but here's what here's what I would like to talk about. So I just, it's good to do that and keep it pretty natural, because you want, again, there's people out there that will be watching that need Steve. They either need your copywriting or they need your coach. And my job is to get them to connect with you. Simple. Well, it sounds simple.
It does sound simple. Thank you. But no, I've had to do a lot of thinking over the last couple of months
Yeah.
about the direction of my business, because obviously
Yeah.
I've got two very different
Two
sections.
businesses. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've had to do a
They
lot
do
of
go to,
thinking.
well, they go together nicely though, Steve, because I kind of think that the psychology of your coaching can actually be used in the psychology of writing, copywriting, and selling, so to speak. Yeah.
It is. You're right there. That is something that does connect the two. There's a couple of other things that connect the two as well. So if you look at marketing, right? Marketing as a
Yeah.
very basic definition of marketing is targeted communication.
Yeah.
So in order to be successful in marketing, the first thing you need to do is set yourself goals.
Yeah.
The second thing you need to do is your market research. And in that market research, it's developing an understanding as to who you're selling to, where you can find them, what their issues are and how your product and service can help them. The next thing is developing that targeted messaging in a platform that will find its way to that you want. And then it's about consistency. So there you go. There's your 4 basic elements.
I was just going to say, we can have a whole nother interview. We'll have to do that, Steve, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I mean,
we'll try and have another interview, because I love to talk about that. I've not got a marketing background, although that's essentially what I'm now involved in. So I like to keep learning and learning and learning. And I was just going to ask you, while you're talking about that, finding out where your people are or your target market, how do you do that? How do you find out where 40-something-year-old, I don't know, I'm going to make this up. How do you find where 40-year-old female business owners with money to invest in coaching, how do you find them? Where do like, that's what the bit I don't understand about marketing. Where do you find that information?
You ask them.
Besides asking them.
So basically, on my YouTube channel at the moment, what I'm doing is I'm covering how to segment the market. So far, I've covered what marketing is. Then it's geographic segmentation, then demographic segmentation. Next week, we're looking at psychographic segmentation, and then we're looking at behavioral. Then the week after that,
oh my God, I'm going to have to subscribe. I have to subscribe to your YouTube channel. That's all. I just have to do that.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is the week after that is looking at how to put them all together. I'm then going to be linking in some customer persona templates and questions. And the questions can be done in either a survey or in a interview or focus group. So I've got to finish breaking down those questions and stuff. But basically, it gives you all of the information that you need to start targeting your communication. And if you look at the customer personas, the way that I've done them, because they're the ones that I use. So the way that I've done them, you've got your demographics on there, you've got your background on there, you've got your financial information, you've got your goals, you've got your challenges, you've got your pain points. Then you've got your business's opportunities. You've got basically like a mini SWOT analysis within there as well. So you understand what the opportunities are. Then there's another section where you're looking at potentially targeting your messaging within the persona. So it's easy for you to identify what kind of words to look for, what kind of message you want to give, how to sell your products and services. And most important part is where you're selling your products and services. It's no point in you being on Facebook if your demographic uses Reddit.
They're not on Facebook. I figured that out a while ago.
The other thing is, as your business grows, you then need to start looking at what type of shows they watch, when they watch TV, when do they stream, what services do they use to stream, what devices do they use as well. And in fact, while I'm talking about it, I'll quickly show you. Let me just grab my... I'll just show you one of the personas just so you can get a better understanding.
Because I've got my own stuff worked out in my own business. But I just have never been sure that I've done that to the full extent of what it could be done. So I've always gone to, I like to look at statistical information. So then I'll Google search this person in this demographic. What do they like? Like, I'll just Google search stuff, but I realized that that's not how you're supposed to do it.
Can you just let me share the screen?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
So there is something there's a couple of things missing on this particular template, but this is my favorite template that I do actually use.
Is that coming through?
Yes, it is now.
Yes. Okay, good.
So I just present it. It's easy for me to go through it. Okay, so you've got Marketing Maggie. Now, it doesn't matter. You can name them whatever. You can call them Silly Stephen if you want.
Yep.
So as you can see, it gives you a breakdown into the background and demographics. Then it gives you what device they use. Are they tech savvy? Do they understand how Zoom works for a start? What social media platforms are they on? That helps you identify where to find them. Then you've got your
Yeah.
goals, metrics, and motivation. So what are their goals?
Yep.
Primary and secondary goals. What are their personal versus professional? Then you've got the metrics. So what is it that they actually measure? How do they measure their goals? What motivates them? Their personality traits. So again, you're looking at, what are they called now? You 16 personality traits. I'm ENFP.
Yes. That's what I was going to bring up with you. I'm curious to go and have a look at your other one, but the 16 personality ones, I'm an INFJ.
Okay.
2%. Yeah. Yeah, I'm an INFJ.
I'll have a look at that one and message you later. And then you've got the challenges. Yeah, I'll have a look. I will have a look. I'll have a look after this. Then you've got the challenges. So that is about their struggles. What is it that keeps them up at night? Then you put in some real quotes from the questions that you're asking, because that will help you with them becoming familiar with your brand, because you're using the same kind of words. What are their common objections? So why do they not buy from you? What can we do? So this is what your business does to help that persona. Then you can actually go even further and describe the solution, and then you elevate pitch it. So write it within a sentence or two. Now I am adding more onto this, because I do think that looking at trends within your industry or within your customer industry helps. I also think it helps to look at to put in a direct, where do they buy from? So what type of brands do they buy from? Why are they loyal to that brand? So there's going to be a couple more sections in this, but this is basically a persona. And then what you do is you get your persona, you read through it to remind you whenever you're writing a message and where you're writing it, of course. And then you take your message from these three here. Well, these four technically, because you've got the objections as well. Or you.
That's one of the best. That's one of the best ones I've seen. Mine is, well, kind of a bit similar to that, the one that I use for my own stuff. But that's nice, so nice and simple, Steve. It's really good.
And then what I've done is, like I said, my YouTube channel, geographic, demographic, psychographic, behavioral. So geographic is where, demographic who, psychographic why, behavioral what. I've given it a breakdown, so that explains what it is. The next one down gives you examples, and then the next one down explains the benefit of it. But you actually, in that persona, will be combining all of them. Now, this is the part that most people are going to be like shocked. So these are the questions. Wait till you see how thorough these are. So you've got your customer persona questions, demographics, their backstory. There's a lot of questions, by the way. Personal life. Personality, their web or purchase behavior, finances, goals, challenges and pain points, product insights and objections. And then this one, this is the questions that you ask your sales team or your marketing team. So there's 10 of those. And that helps you understand where you currently are, so you can then set those goals to get your marketing out there.
That's really cool, Steve. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that
honestly, with me. No, I'll send them to you as well, because
thank you.
Well, I'm going to be giving them away for free as resources anyway. So the only thing that I would suggest with those questions for now is read through them and just pinpoint the ones that are relevant to you. And then obviously decide which questions you would do in a survey and which questions you would do outside of a survey. The survey could take about 30 minutes if you had all of the questions. But
Steve, thank you.
And thank you
for your time.
No, thank you very much.